Tonight, while wildfires continue to burn across Los Angeles, the scope of the damage is coming into view.
Driving around some of these areas, they literally look like war zones. It is not safe.
The latest from California.
Los Angeles facing the threat of even bigger fires tonight as first responders work around the clock to tame the inferno. Good evening, I'm Jenna Browder. Tonight, Los Angeles is bracing for a nightmare scenario. A growing number of firefighters are pouring into the region as powerful winds threaten to spark new flames and erase hard-won progress. Crews from across the U.S., Canada, and Mexico are on the front lines with water trucks and planes ready for action. But the National Weather Service is warning the next few days could be particularly dangerous. Tuesday is expected to be the worst, with winds gusting up to 65 miles per hour.
Elevated critical fire weather conditions will continue through Wednesday. Please rest assured that your County of Los Angeles Fire Department will be prepared. These winds, combined with low humidities and low fuel moistures, will keep the fire threat in all of Los Angeles County very high.
In just 1 week, 4 fires have ripped through more than 60 square miles, an area larger than San Francisco. Thousands of buildings destroyed and at least 24 people confirmed dead. Officials have not determined causes of any of the fires yet. Federal ATF agents are leading the investigations. Meanwhile, crews are in place to protect homes from looters.
Catastrophic fires in California continue to burn, and the return today of high winds is expected to fan the flames. At least 24 people have died and 12,000 buildings have been destroyed.
Firefighters in Southern California bracing for conditions to worsen with the return of powerful Santa Ana winds, with gusts up to 70 miles per hour expected today. High winds and flames have already left some of the most expensive neighborhoods in the world looking like a nuclear blast zone. Evacuation orders remain in place for areas devastated by the fires, frustrating many residents anxious to see if anything is left of their homes.
Have you seen the house?
No, they don't let me.
Authorities have suspended police escorts into the hardest hit areas, saying they don't have the resources to meet all the requests. And some neighborhoods are too dangerous to enter.
And driving around some of these areas, they literally look like war zones. It is not safe. We want to get you back into your homes, but we can't allow that until it is safe for you to do so.
There's no power, there's no water, there's broken gas lines, and we have unstable structures.
Governor Gavin Newsom says he will ease building restrictions and permitting requirements to help homeless residents rebuild faster.
It's insanity. Hotels are packed to the gills. Shelters are packed to the gills.
CBN's Operation Blessing is working with the Dream Center and LA's Cathedral Church, serving hundreds of meals and supplying water, relief kits, N95 masks, and solar lamps.
It's been nothing short of miraculous what God has done over the last 48 hours. It started with a text message to what can we do, and ended with a 53-foot truck from Operation Blessing showing up. Churches everywhere coming together to support people, to bless them.
More than 150 volunteers organized and prepped hygiene supplies, food kits, baby formula, cookware, and other goods. In all, more than 1,100 people were served.
I think the work you guys are doing is incredible. This is such a blessing for us, and I know it'll be a blessing for our neighbors.
Operation Blessing is also helping feed first responders.
I can tell you, after 47 years of fighting fire and many Santa Ana wind fires where we've seen loss of life and destruction, this event last week was absolutely unique.
Please God, save us, save our house, please. Bye. Oh no.
Neighborhoods wiped off the map. Homes reduced to piles of ash. Every day it gets more grim. And the death toll keeps rising. 24 are now confirmed dead, and many more still missing. Forecasters estimate the damage to be more than $250 billion. This would be costlier than Katrina. And the Palisades fires are still only just 13% contained. Wind gusts are predicted to kick up, and firefighters are bracing for explosive fire growth. This isn't over yet.
Skyfox. We call these fire tornadoes or fire nados. As we talk about a fire creates its own weather pattern, and what you're looking at right there is the swirling winds.
Authorities in Los Angeles are warning more destructive winds could lead to explosive fire growth, prompting further red flag warnings across the city. Severe winds of up to 115 kilometres an hour are whipping through Southern California, putting residents again on alert for high fire danger.
That have devastated entire sections of Los Angeles, with those Santa Ana winds ramping back up overnight and due to peak today. 13 million people under red flag warnings. The National Weather Service calling the conditions about as bad as it gets. As investigators search the area looking for a cause, multiple law enforcement sources tell NBC News that an early focus is a possible human cause of the fire, though no conclusions have been reached. A week after the firestorms exploded.
And people are waking up. These things have consequences. You call it a religion, it's actually more like a destructive, nihilistic cult. And we're talking about water. We read from time to time California has droughts, so they say cut down on your water use. Fact of the matter is 10% of the annual average rainfall in California goes for commercial and residential uses, 40% for farming, 50% gets flushed out into the Pacific Ocean for nonsense like the smelt. That is just absolutely massive self-destruction. We've seen the consequences of it, and consequences do have consequences. There's going to be a change in California, finally, after years of idiocy.
The status of these fires that are still raging there in Southern California.
Yeah, the fires, are roughly, Palisades, I believe, is about 24,000 acres, and Eaton's holding at about 14,000 plus. There has not been significant growth in the last day, but per your report, certainly a lot of hot spots. And probably our biggest fear is that the winds have resurfaced. They're blowing very hard in Ventura, LA, Orange, and Riverside County. So, man, we're one ignition away from another disaster, sadly.
This is too big of a disaster to cover up. Here's a Free Press reporter who just got inside the bone-dry Palisades Reservoir. Watch this.
This was supposed to be the water to put out the Palisades fire. This is the Santa Ynez Reservoir. It's the water supply basically for the Palisades. When they first started fighting the Palisades fire, they ran out of water extremely quickly. Wednesday, 3 a.m., they were basically out. And there's been a lot of talk on why this happened. So how long has this reservoir been empty for?
Since February of last year. There was no communication from the Department of Water and Power to LAFD that there was a water supply issue.
The firefighters, when they started fighting the fires, no one informed them that the reservoir was empty.
What's worse, misinformation or mismanagement? But the ladies of The View say it's racist to report on what the governor's doing.
Who I don't applaud is someone like Jesse Waters on Fox News. This is what he said. He blamed LA fires on diversity. He said that California's woke politics and DEI are the reasons for the fires because Newsom has been tearing down dams because Native Americans, but he called them Indians, wanted some of the river back so they could catch salmon. And Gavin didn't just knock down one dam for the Indians, he knocked them all down. He knocked down 4 of the dams. I'm sorry, this is stolen land, first of all, okay? California is stolen land. Second of all, that's part of what always happens. These dams, there's preservation of the dam. So that was just complete, not only misinformation, but it was racist.
DEI didn't cause the fire, but it distracted the state from preparing to fight it. The LA water chief, Janice Quiones, who makes $750,000 a year, says her number one priority wasn't water.
And when people are asking me, should we expect this again? I tell them yes, because every time we've had a 100-year fire, it's not a few years later before we have another 100-year fire. So I think this is an indicator that we can expect the same again in the future, sadly.
Biden wrote a blank check and left on his legacy tour. No one knows where the VP is. Kamala's home state's California. She lives in LA. They say she could be the next governor. It's like she disappeared. Police just caught 2 sketchy men casing Kamala's house in Brentwood after someone called 911. Here's the latest on what caused the fire. Nothing definitive yet, but the Washington Post says the Palisades blaze may have originally started from fireworks on New Year's Eve. Firefighters put it out, and it may have reignited days later. Other reports say downed power lines might have sparked the inferno, and arson hasn't been ruled out. The governor says he can't get a straight answer out of anybody.
I want to get the answers. And I'll be candid with you, I wasn't getting straight answers.
Yeah.
I watched the press conference. I met with some of those leaders. We had my team start talking to local leaders, saying what's going on. Our state.
And you weren't getting straight answers from
I was getting
leaders.
different answers. When you start getting different answers, then I'm not getting the actual story.
The governor doesn't have a strong grasp of what's happening and keeps passing the buck to the locals. But he's out in front of the cameras every day.
We're dealing with a myriad of issues. I was just talking to Josh Green, the governor of down in Hawaii, who had some ideas around some land use concerns he has around speculators coming in.
Why is the governor shimmying around like that with a smile on his face? What kind of presentation is that? Why does he look so gleeful when he's talking about land speculators? It's getting so bizarre that NBC is having to call Gavin out for spewing misinformation.
I don't know what he's referring to when he talks about the Delta smelt and reservoirs. The reservoirs are completely full, the state reservoirs here in Southern California. That mis and disinformation, I don't think advantages or aids any of us.
We do know, though, from reporting here locally that one reservoir that serves the Palisades was not full.
And that's exactly what triggered my desire to get the investigation, to understand what was happening with that local reservoir. That was not a state system reservoir, which the president-elect was referring to as it relates to the Delta and somehow connecting the Delta smelt to this fire, which is inexcusable because it's inaccurate, also incomprehensible to anyone that understands water policy.
So keep your head up.